Victor, welcome. Great to have you here.
How you doing, Ben?
Doing awesome. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you, thank you. Definitely, we'll make the time for you. Don't worry about that.
Well, I'm honored and it's great to have you here. Excited to talk to you, get some highlights about your massive transformation. Just really quick for those listening and watching. Um, Hector smashed his 90-day transformation, 52 pounds lost in 90 days. One of the things that really helped him is Hector is not your average size man in terms of his height, almost 5 foot, 6 foot nine.
Yeah,
Played basketball in the past, and that is one of the things contributing to his amazing weight loss in that time period, and over 100 clients and customers that have gone through the program with me. That is the record. So it's you need a trophy for that. We got you the Powered by Plants shirt there, but you earned that.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this was due because of one of the steps challenges,
Was it?
or
Yeah.
yeah. So as soon as I bought it, actually, as soon as you sent it, I tried it on. It definitely was a lot looser than a lot tighter than what it is now. Definitely a lot looser now. So we might have to consider getting one size smaller now.
I think we're gonna have to do that. Plus, we got the challenge going on right now too. So the month long challenge. So you're in for that as well.
Definitely.
So good. Well, hey, can we back up and maybe just have you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from, just a little history to give us some background.
So yeah, Hector Valenzuela, like you mentioned, I am naturally from Puerto Rico, currently living in Houston, Texas. Like you mentioned, I used to play basketball at all levels, from high school to college to pro, and with the national team of Puerto Rico. So I had the pleasure and the honor of representing Puerto Rico at an international level. And even back then, like weight was always one of those challenges that I had to, why it was kind of interesting during the season. A lot of the players lost weight during the season. I used to gain weight because we weren't practicing as much, just your regular practice pre and post game. But I remember in college that, and as a professional basketball player, going to preseason always with a couple extra pounds. The coaches being mad at me. Why you didn't work on your body? So I mean, uh, kind of giving you that history that weight has been a problem. Far since I was in my younger years. Back then, it was just a problem of making a team. I'm not making a team. I was in the team, but performing in the team. Now as an adult, it's been more of a challenge of health, and staying healthy. And there was another measures that kind of concerned. So that's why I decided to jump in and give the challenge a try.
Fantastic. Yeah. So when you started, what made you decide to go this route? With I guess with me and doing it on a plant-based approach
Mm-hmm.
opposed to, and how were you eating kind of prior? When did you tell us about the transition of going into plant-based and why doing it this
Mm-hmm.
route versus a different angle or keto or something like that?
So I remember maybe about 2012 watching Forks Over Knives. And that was, I think, the first time I got exposed to plant-based and whole foods. And the documentary made sense. I work as a pharmaceutical rep back then. I see a ton of cardiac patients, who are on a ton of medications, hypertension, cholesterol, diabetes, all these issues going on. So I was really exposed to it. And when I saw the documentary, it kind of, made sense. And it was back then, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. Maybe go vegetarian for, and give it a shot. And I did. And I remember staying through to it for like 30 days. And then one day for a training, they took us to Ruth's Chris. And I was like, you know what? I'm having a steak. Yeah, that was it. And that was 2012. After that, One of my mom's cousin basically was scheduled for open heart surgery. He was completely occluded. I recommended him visiting one of the main doctors in Puerto Rico who works a lot with total occlusions. And they say, no, we can really not put a stent in there. He has to go for open heart surgery. And he actually went and visited one of the doctors from the Forks Over Nice documentary. And he started on a plant-based diet. And 2 years later, he was completely open, didn't need the surgery. So obviously, I started seeing that this is definitely works, but I was still not committed on trying it on myself. So I was doing, low carbs, keto, and keto actually worked for a while. Like I lost maybe like 20, 25 pounds. And then all of a sudden, maybe ate a whole week of bread and gained it right back, and, it just didn't seem like the healthiest thing to do, putting fat into your body when you see all the data that cholesterol and saturated fats are not good for you. And somehow it didn't feel good. I was seeing the results, but it didn't feel good. And I guess, exploring, I saw you first time through Instagram. One of my buddies, he's been vegan for a couple of years now. And he told me, look at what Ben is doing. And I kind of love the way you presented, all the tips and tricks and, little adaptations that you can do in order to, make it happen. And little by little, I said, you know what, let's give it a shot. And that's when I reached out to you and I started that 90-day program, and really don't regret it at all, because I'm a different person today than I was maybe 90 days ago.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So how did you find the transition, and, what were the challenges in the beginning, if any, and, how did it progress over time in terms of getting easier and getting in
Mhm.
a flow? And tell us a little bit about the transition.
So initially, tell you the truth, at one point after my first conversation with you, where I kind of committed to doing the program, that's when all this situation with COVID started. And I was even kind of tempted to call you and say, you know what, Ben, I don't think this is the right time to do this. Like, I think because of these things going on.
Yeah.
But now looking back, I think it was the best time to do it, because I wasn't going out for dinners and bars, and I was cooking. I had to cook at home because restaurants were closed. So from that standpoint, it made it kind of more of a boot camp kind of thing, where I could completely focus my time and effort on staying on track. Um, and basically, after I committed, I said, you know what, I'm gonna take it easy. I'm just gonna take it one step at a time. Initially, I remember telling you that I was already doing like a vegetarian. I was not taking all of the animal proteins out. And maybe 1 week after I started with you, that's when I took it all out. I said, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, I better commit full time and put all the effort on it. And I would say maybe 1 week after that, I started noticing changes in my mood. I started noticing changes in my energy levels and my concentration. And I say, you know what, this definitely feels different. This definitely, and obviously I was losing the pounds and losing the weight, and I could start seeing my body kind of lean out, uh, in a different way than when I was doing keto. So I mean, it definitely, that's when I realized that I made the right decision, but it was by doing small, sustainable changes rather than a drastic approach of, one day I'm eating meat, the next day I'm not. For me, it took a little bit of a transition, because even before I started with you, I was already living out, instead of eating 3 times a week, I was eating maybe 1 time a week, and eating fish, maybe no chicken, no beef. So for me, that's what worked. Doing small but sustainable changes, and it worked.
A lot of people think, once you bring in the high carb people associate gaining weight with carbs. And did you kind of have
Mhm.
that mindset coming in? And I know from you sharing with me what you've eaten throughout the process and eating the stuff out of the meal planner
Mhm.
and then making some of your own creative dishes. You know, how was it eating carbs and then still losing weight? How did that shift your mindset and the way your relationship with food?
So at the beginning, maybe because I had this chip of what every media tells you, like, oh, low carb, low fat, low this, low that, like you're getting saturated with all these messages that I'm bombarding you from everywhere. So at the beginning, I was definitely skeptic. I was like, I'm gonna lose weight if I'm eating all these carbs. But then actually something you do so great in your videos is mention the calorie deficit. Like that's something that
I don't remember ever saying that.
like once you get the math, and it just happens. It just happens. Like, and I think you've given some examples of what I did. I basically created a spreadsheet where I put
Tell
what I was
us.
eating, what I was burning, what I was accumulating throughout every day and every week, and even every month. And at the end of the day, I remember one day sending you to the graph and saying, well, you know, uh, basically the math doesn't lie, because this says that by today I should have lost already 50 pounds, and I was maybe like 42. And as I say, well, maybe there's some muscle gain which contrasts that difference. But the math doesn't lie.
The math didn't lie, and you were just consistent. You're one of the things that I saw that was phenomenal with you is, and by the way, I started implementing that with other clients that I've been working with the Excel spreadsheet, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the same math add up. The math doesn't lie, and
Mm-hmm.
so once you started implementing that, I mean, but you really didn't skip a beat. I think there was one period where you plateaued for about 2 weeks, and then
Yeah,
boom, and then just
yeah.
tanked again. But that you believed in the process. You just didn't seem to ever waver.
Mm-hmm.
What were some challenges that you faced when, or mental challenges potentially, if
Mm-hmm.
you want to share that, what had the potential to derail you, or something you
Mm-hmm.
had to really kind of fight to stay on track for?
So previous occasions when every time when I was doing other type of trying to get in shape for a basketball season, or even when I did keto, like it will get to that point where I will lose 10, 12 pounds, and people will start complimenting me. Oh, you look thinner, or you look better. And for some reason that created some sort of
Mm.
comfort level for me. Like, people already noticing that I look better. So should I really work as hard? So I guess the fact that I've been more at home, and that definitely took away some of that noise and made me concentrate on, there's not a lot of people saying, "Oh, you look good." So, but at the same time, I was not going to let that happen, and it's something that I continued during our conversations. I talked to you. You asked me the same question. I said, you know what? The fear of going back and gaining back maybe the first 20 pounds that I lost, and looking myself in the mirror and saying, you know what? You have to start all over again. You know,
Mm.
I think that was the part where I was able to mentally kind of focus and stay on track by just having that image in my mind of looking myself in the mirror saying you have to start back and start again. And up to now, that I remember setting the first goal that we set was 290, and we did that within halfway through of the program, then 275, and then 260. So right now I'm at 271. We achieved the first two goals. uh, so I'm still having that mental focus and that same vision in my mind of looking myself in the mirror saying you have to start over if I don't make it down to the 260, because that's the final number that I want to go down to.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, and I love that. And that in your vision board, by the way, when you set that up,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, that was powerful. And also having those markers of having a shorter term, a midterm, and a longer term goal, and that consistency. Do
Mm-hmm.
you really feel that? I'm a strong believer. Do you feel that the vision board and having that clarity of a very specific goal had an impact?
100%, 100%. And maybe going back to a couple of times that you mentioned, you are what you see the most, and what you kind of do the most in terms of, for example, the spreadsheet was exercise that helped me kind of, the day I knew I didn't eat as well as the day before, I was going to see it in the spreadsheet when I entered that number. So that it kind of kept me accountable for it. Same thing with the vision board. Once you put it on paper, it gives you that extra help of what do you need to do in order to achieve that, what you put in paper. And I can remember the main thing that I wanted to put there was stay away from cholesterol medication and high blood pressure medication, which I was already taking. And now I've been able to take that out of, I'm not taking it anymore just because my blood pressure normalized and my cholesterol level got back to normal. So that's one of the things that I check off the box from that vision board. The other thing that has been happening, I put motivate others. And since I've been halfway through this point, a lot of people are asking me, oh, so what are you doing? How are you feeling? How can I feel that way? So, I mean, it's crazy how everything I put in that vision board so far has, come through. Maybe the Jason Momoa dad bod, which was the other one that I put. That's the one that is still missing, but I'm working
Oh,
towards that
yes,
one.
yes,
So
yes. Yeah, man, that's fantastic. Uh, I'm sure people are really curious about what your routine looked like. So why don't we start with the food? Like maybe give us a few of your favorite meals, maybe a favorite breakfast, a favorite lunch, and dinner.
So basically, for breakfast, and the importance of you told me the importance of creating a couple of staples. That way you facilitate the process and make it easier for you. Because if you're just cooking every day different things, you might get tired and exhausted, and you say, this is harder than what I thought. So what I decided is to, for breakfast, keep it simple. Do the overnight oats just because they're ready in the fridge. So if I had to go to the hospital, I would just grab those and get on the road. And then smoothies. I usually in the morning always like to get a cardio session in, either on the bike or a run or something. So I will do that and then grab either the oats or the protein smoothie. That definitely made it for me. And you get creative, add fruits, add vegetables, add different things that make it tasty. And that definitely was a game changer for me. And then lunch, it will depend. Sometimes had time to prep. Other times I will have to grab something on the road. But I always try to keep track of it. Like put it on my fitness pal, make sure that it was hitting the macros. And then by the end of the night, basically, I would look back at those macros and say, okay, let me see how I'm doing on proteins. Let me see how I'm doing on fats. Where can I cut? Where do I need to add? And, kind of make up for whatever I'm missing or cut whatever I ate too much of during lunch and breakfast. And that's how I will decide my dinner. But I found that portobello mushrooms for me were huge. You can make sandwiches, you can make stuffed portobello, you can do tacos, you can do so many things with portobello mushrooms. And they are low in fat, low in calorie, not even that many carbs. It all depends what you put around it. So that was one of my big ones. And I'm from Puerto Rico, so you need to have rice and beans, and that's plants, So for me, that was a big game changer right there. Being able to have rice, beans, plantains, that kind of stuff.
That's fantastic, and yeah, you showed some great pictures of your meals over the time inside the Instagram group a lot. So that was you made some. You're really creative. You spent some time in the kitchen and made the most of it. So yeah, that's phenomenal. Let's talk about your workouts. You did a combination of cardio, strength training, body weight. So share some highlights of that.
So basically, I'm sitting in my 90-day transformation workout space right
All
now.
right.
Like that's the Peloton bike back there. I did a lot of that, and that was basically my main cardio. Like the bike and like getting there. So at least 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes in the bike, and then a lot of the Cali trips. The way you set it up to kind of go from the beginner to intermediate to advanced. I could definitely tell a difference. Uh, you know, First of how I was getting in shape, because obviously at the beginning, even the beginner was hard. But then as I progressed through the program, I got stronger. I was, instead of doing 12 pushes, I was doing 22. So you could definitely tell a difference, and that keeps your motivation going. If you try to go all out, and that's something that I've noticed from before. Is like, before I associated losing weight with having to go all out every day working out. And here I was, even though I was working out hard because I was sweating out, but it was more at a intelligent pace. I would get my 30 minutes of biking, and then at the beginning I was like, well, this beginner workout feels kind of easy, but I still did it. And that kind of helped me get stronger for whenever I got to the intermediate and the advanced. And remembering that I didn't have access to a gym, so everything was here with resistant bands, and I even had to make up a pull-up bar, a makeshift pull-up bar, because we didn't have, everything sold out. No pull-ups are bar to be found anywhere. So I went to Home Depot, bought a tube and a tube with thingies, and put it up, and it worked.
Yes, you did a great job on that too. I'm jealous. You had a nice thick bar out there. That was very impressive. So that's phenomenal. I mean, just I love the idea that not only from a physical, a strength standpoint, from your blood pressure, your cholesterol, um, all around health improvement, and that's phenomenal too. Now, I think I'm sure anyone who's watching this right now is very inspired and motivated to um, take some of these highlights and things that you've done and incorporate some of that into their own journey. What would you know what comes to mind if somebody came to you and said, hey, tell me what you did, what should I, someone who's on the fence and maybe says, I'm thinking about doing going on a weight loss or a health
Mhm.
fitness transformation plan,
Mhm.
and doing it on a plant-based vegan way.
Mhm.
What would you say to them?
So, uh, I mean, it has happened already. Like, I
Yeah.
found myself having to give this kind of advice, which I was not ready to give. So I've had to kind of sit down and prepare. Okay, what I'm gonna suggest to people that ask me this, because at the end of the day, if I put on my vision board that I want to motivate others, then I need to come up with a plan on how I'm going to motivate it. Actually, the first person that asked me, after I finished talking to her, I was like, that wasn't good. Like right now, she doesn't feel motivated at all on doing this just because I told her it was easy. And, in her mind, it's probably not, but I think the most important thing, if you're watching this and feel like you need to make a change, basically the time is now. Like, don't wait, or don't try to look for the right time. I think the time is now. Just look for a way on which you can switch your direction and take the first step. If that means going outside and walking for 30 minutes, that's definitely 30 minutes that you were not gonna move. You just stay at home. So little changes add up, and some of the motivation that I definitely work for me, like, that's something I didn't never do. I wouldn't. You will never. I would never consider walking as a workout. And lately, it has become a workout, both physically and mentally, because while I walk, I listen to audiobooks or podcasts. So I kind of, a couple of them was the David Goggins Kind of Heard Me. I've heard to Rich Roll, Finding Ultra. I've heard to Epson, Plan Strong. Different podcasts that kind of talk about and talk about health professionals. So I mean, just start walking and start educating yourself about what it takes to become healthier with a plant-based diet. Basically, once you start doing little steps, and basically, I always tell if you don't want to completely transition, just do one meal. Just start with there. Just give it a try to one meal, and the impact that will create in your body and the environment is huge already. If you just take one meal, and from there see how you feel, and maybe they later do two meals. Instead of eating meat 5 times a week, eat it two, and but little, small, consistent, sustainable changes are gonna lead you to big results. You just have to stay focused, stay the track, and don't look back.
Well said. Well said. Well, I know you've inspired many already, and I know you're going to continue to inspire so many more. So, Hector, hey, thanks for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome, Ben, and thank you actually for guiding me and providing all the resources to stay the track. At the end of the day, you always need a coach. So that's the other thing. Go get a coach. Go get somebody that motivates you. Go get somebody that keeps you on check, and stay away from those people that are taking you the wrong direction. Just stick together with those that want to see you become a better you.
Great advice. Thanks, Hector.
You're welcome, Ben. Take care.
You too.